how to talk to a woman in a way that inspires her trust, her lust, and her devotion to you. That's what I'm talking about in today's video. And this applies whether you're in a relationship that's kind of lost the spark and you want to get it back. And it also applies if you are single and you're looking to attract your dream woman. So let's talk about the problem for a moment. The majority of men communicate with women in a way that repels them unconsciously, creates a kind of disrespect, encourages disrespect from her, and also, in the worst cases, especially in like a long-term relationship, builds resentment from her towards you. What is this communication style and why does it create this effect? The communication style I'm talking about is what I call nice guy communication. When you're communicating to her like a nice guy, what you're essentially doing is trying to please her. Everything that you're doing, the whole way you're coming across, both in spoken and in your body language, is emotionally reactive to her. And it's trying to please her and get validation. That's all it's about. You will self-edit, you'll edit everything you say, you'll watch very carefully for when she responds positively to you and you'll double down on it. You will hide things about yourself, hide details, you'll hide anything that you might think she would disapprove of, you hide it away. Now, this is problematic for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is that it makes you very anxious. Okay, because if you're really, really craving her validation and approval, that means it's very important to you that this communication goes very well. And the stakes are too high, which means your anxiety is through the roof. And not only that, they withhold their true feelings and desires. For example, if a nice guy finds a woman attractive, he's very unlikely to tell her directly and boldly. What he'll do, because he's very anxious and needy for her approval, so he won't communicate this directly. What he will do instead is act like her friend. He'll try and get close to her, thinking that this will lead to sex or some sort of validation. Most of the time it doesn't, because he friend zones himself by doing this, yeah? But I can get to that in a little while. But basically, that's what he'll do. He'll indirectly, and in some ways, let's be honest, cowardly, because he's not facing his own fears, he's not facing his own anxieties, he's trying to avoid it all, he will do it indirectly. So this leads me to why women generally don't like this. And when I say women and men, I'm talking about men in their masculine energy and women in their feminine energy. Okay, that's what I'm talking about, just to keep things simple. So the reason why women do not like this, the reason why they find it unattractive and sort of resent it, a couple of reasons. The reason why a woman is not attracted to this, is repelled by this on a sexual level, is because it's a feminine communication style. You're communicating that you are more effeminate, right? So the way attraction works, it's not complicated. It's based in polarity. Polarity between feminine energy and masculine energy. If she is in her feminine, and that's where she wants to reside, and these are usually the women that masculine men find the most attractive, at least I do. Women in her feminine energy, if a man's communicating through feminine energy, then this repels her. Because it's very similar to the way a magnet works. If you try to connect the positive poles of a magnet, they repel. It has to be a positive and a negative that attract, and it's the same way. Masculine and feminine attract, feminine and feminine repel, masculine and masculine repel, yeah? Now, nice guy communication is coming from what I call wounded feminine energy. It's the dark side of the feminine. That is over-emotional, manipulative, and needy. And this is because he's using this communication style to try and get his emotional needs met, but not in a direct way. Okay? So that's the dark side of the feminine. That pushes her away. Not only does this push her away, but it also invites disrespect and resentment. It generally destroys a relationship over time. Because, a number of reasons, but the main reason is that it makes her feel unsafe. Okay? For a woman to open up emotionally, sexually, physically, spiritually to you, she needs to feel safe with you. She can't do that if you think that you're trying to get an ulterior motive met. If you're not being direct and bold with her, then you're just trying to get some need met that you're not communicating, and she can't feel safe with that because she doesn't know what your intentions are. Okay, that's the real problem with the nice guy communication style, is that your intentions, you're hiding them. So let's talk a little bit about how you can actually shift out of this. What you do is you just shift from nice guy communication to what I call masculine communication, or dominant masculine communication, okay? So how do you do this? Let me explain a little bit about what that looks like and give you 5 ways that you can actually practice this in your relationships starting today. So a man communicating his healthy masculine energy, thus creating that polarity, that attraction, he pleases himself first, okay? Because the masculine energy, healthy masculine energy, is directive, it's got direction, it's got purpose, and it sort of moves in a certain direction and it knows where it wants to go. It's got a kind of self-certainty and assertiveness to it. So the communication style has to embody this. It has to communicate this to her. So it's a man who knows what he wants, okay? He's not obsessed with pleasing her, okay? If he wants to make her happy, that's his choice, right? But he doesn't need it for his own psychological well-being. It's a very different intention. So he pleases himself first. He says or does what he wants, not primarily what other people want him to do. He's direct and clear with his intentions, and he's direct and clear with his communication, okay? If he likes a woman, he will let that be known. Doesn't have to necessarily say it in words, but he will let it be known with his presence. He'll be there, and she'll not have to second guess, does this guy like me or not? I can't quite tell. No. He will let her know. Because he's able to handle his anxiety, he's able to stay rooted in his body without trying to escape it through the mind or through activity. He stays rooted in his body, which means he speaks usually slower. He speaks with intention. He slows down. He doesn't speak in a way that's just trying to deal with his emotions. He speaks with his intention. His words have power and weight. And thus, he's a lot more charismatic, by the way. He speaks his truth. He doesn't edit himself. If he has any strong opinions or something or disagreement with her, he doesn't hide it. He openly expresses it. If he has a hobby that she might think is a bit daft or weird, he doesn't give a shit. He just communicates it anyway. And lastly, he absolutely refuses to play games with her. He has absolutely no patience for this, generally. Now, if you're watching this and you've been into pickup and like pickup artistry and stuff, that is all about game playing. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. Dominant masculine communication does not concern itself with game playing. It concerns itself with truth, clarity, direction, and boldness. This way of communicating is extremely attractive to the feminine. Feminine craves surrender to healthy masculine leadership. Regardless of gender, I'm talking about energies right now. The feminine craves surrender because that's where the healthy feminine resides. So we want to communicate in a way that embodies all of this. But how do you actually do this? And just as a side note, something I want to say is it's not as simple as clicking your fingers, okay? Men don't choose consciously to communicate like a nice guy. This communication style has evolved over an entire lifetime of emotional wounds, of past conditioning, and of personal sort of trauma related to masculine and feminine and women and stuff like that, okay? So this is not something you can click your fingers and change. However, one thing I will say is that when you start becoming conscious of how you're communicating and start communicating differently, this kind of changes the feedback loop, okay? And what I mean by that is, if you have, say, low self-esteem, because that's essentially what this is all about, if you have low self-esteem, then that's kind of a feedback loop. You feel bad about yourself, you have dodgy beliefs about yourself, that causes you to communicate in a certain way that then elicits a kind of reaction from other people that reaffirms your belief about yourself, okay? So if I'm really shy and I don't like myself, and I'll show up and I'll talk with kind of shitty body language, looking around, and I'll just eke out these little words, people don't respond to me, they don't really listen to me, that confirms this belief I have, okay? So communicating differently can interrupt the feedback loop and start building self-esteem pretty fucking quickly, actually. So this is how you communicate to interrupt the flow and start getting different reactions from women that build a sense of healthy self-esteem. So I just wanted to make a note of that. Number one, start being direct, bold, and truthful. Speak your truth, okay? Be connected to your truth. Know what is true for you. Know what's important to you. Know your values. Know what's interesting to you. This might require you to do a little bit of soul searching, a little bit of introspection to figure out more about who you really are. Be fearless in speaking that truth once you find it. And the only thing that you should be concerned with, the only approval you should be looking to get is your own. Do you approve of what you're saying? Are you interested in what you're talking about, etc.? Notice all the ways that you edit yourself and speak dishonestly, reverse them, and commit to being truthful, direct, and bold. Number two, do not ask permission. This is very, very practical. Something you can notice pretty much straight away is that in your talking, in your interactions with women, how often are you seeking permission? You're asking for permission for everything that you do. And what I want you to do is to notice this and then reverse it. Okay, so let me just give you a couple of reframes, right? So for example, if you're organising a date with a woman, do you want to go to the cinema? Or worse, can we please go to the cinema? You see how that's asking for permission? It's very like childlike energy, putting her in the mother role where she has like the responsibility and the leadership. Now you can reframe that by saying, I'd love to go to the cinema. There's this film I'd like to watch. What do you think? See? Very different communication style. Or I'd like to go to the cinema, that kind of thing. Another example is if you're wanting to go in for the kiss, a lot of men might say, can I kiss you now? Okay? You're asking for permission. Do not ask for permission. If you want to communicate from the healthy masculine does not need permission from anybody. Okay? I'm not saying violate boundaries and consent. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about how you communicate and show up. So for example, instead of saying, can I kiss you now, please? Say, I'd like to kiss you. Or I want to kiss you. Or right now, I want to kiss you. Okay? It's a very different way of communicating. Number 3, stay grounded in your body. Now, anxiety and the avoidance of intense feelings like anxiety in the body is the main thing physically that will knock you out of healthy masculine communication. To communicate from the healthy masculine, you need to expand your tolerance to intensity, to anxiety, okay? Because think about it, a nice guy is trying to avoid negative feelings and strong feelings. He can't handle the shame and guilt and embarrassment of potentially saying something that upsets her. He can't physically handle it in the body. So he erects all of these communication styles and barriers to try and avoid a negative response from her. Whereas, can you imagine if you were not afraid of any feeling at all? Can you imagine that? You will communicate from healthy masculine without trying if you stay grounded in your body. When you're interacting with a woman, stay present in your body. Always retain some attention on the sensations of the body. And number 4, related to that, is to slow down. Okay? Slow down. For us to communicate healthy masculine energy, we need to be connected to the truth. We need to be connected to truth and clarity and direction. If we don't slow down, we don't sense our truth. We're not aware of what's true for us. Okay? If I'm in a conversation with a woman and I'm just talking rapidly and I'm all over the place, I'm more connected to her, I'm more tuned into like her, I'm more coming from her sort of energy rather than slowing down, staying grounded in my energy, listening to what conversation topics are arising for me, what feelings are coming up for me. Okay? So slowing down can help you stay rooted in that grounded masculine energy. And number 5, if you can hear snoring, it's because my dog is just literally like meters away and she's snoring, so that's the reason. But number 5 is to extend invitations. The healthy masculine is not about control and demands, okay? The healthy masculine extends invitations to her. A personal example from my own life, I once went on a date with a very nice woman from Brazil. And I noticed I was sat on this side of the table and she was sat on that side of the table. Okay, but there was a seat next to me. And as we were talking, I felt like I wanted to be closer to her. Okay, so there was a pause in the conversation and I said, I'd like you to come and sit over here. That was me extending an invitation. Now, I wasn't saying you have to come and sit over here or else, or I'll like definitely come sit over here right now. I'm saying, I'd like you to come and sit over here. And that was up to her to say yes or no. She said yes, she wanted to be closer as well. And so did I. So that's an example of extending invitations. If you liked this video, then this video specifically you will really, really like because it expands on the same sort of topic. So check this video out next and I will see you in the next video. Peace.